Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, King Dio, Lauren Frey, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. So now that I've actually spent some time playing and being miserable with Horizon Zero Dawn, I thought it was high time we reflected and talk a little bit about the history of this game, this IP, and why I am so pleased that it has failed. That's right, failed. Horizon Zero Dawn has failed. This was the IP that Sony was really pushing at the end of the PS4 generation, like more than Ghost of Tsushima, um, more than the final Uncharted game, more than even The Last of Us Part Two. I think Horizon Zero Dawn was genuinely supposed to be the big new PlayStation IP. Like there was a period of time in like 2017 and 2018 where you saw Aloy everywhere. You saw that like smug, like ginger face just staring at you vacantly. Like, oh man, are you gonna play her game, gamers? Like it was obnoxious. And for the longest time, like in 2017, like you had people saying it was better than Breath of the Wild. It was a cut above Breath of the Wild. It had like better combat. It was just a bigger, more expansive open world. And Breath of the Wild went on to sell like 30 million copies, become one of the most beloved games of all time, and Horizon kind of stagnated and became forgotten. To the point where the sequel has come out now, and Sony is not officially releasing sales numbers because they're too embarrassed to admit it bombed. So, what exactly happened? Well, Sony tried to promote a new IP from their studios in the way they typically do, in paying off game journalists and creating all this false hype regarding the setting for Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, oh man, look, robot dinosaurs. You get to fight them in an open world setting. Isn't that awesome? You have this female protagonist. You have this like mystery of the post-apocalyptic world. You have all these secrets to uncover. All this deep lore. All this really interesting stuff, and they really tried like selling you on this idea that this was something cool, unique, and interesting, but it never really took off. It never really became an accepted thing in the gaming community. Like it was all very much forced. It was all incredibly astroturf. It had like no organic support at all. The only people supporting Horizon Zero Dawn from its announcement to its release and to its post-release were fanboy shills trying to pretend that PlayStation was still relevant in 2017, right? This game was put out against Breath of the Wild like a week ahead of time and was completely stomped by it in relevancy, in sales, and in long and in legacy. I think is the most important thing to keep in mind. We are in a time period where people are anxiously awaiting the release of Breath of the Wild 2. We haven't even gotten a real trailer for it yet, all right? Well, we got one, a small one. We don't even have a subtitle. We don't have anything. Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to Zero Dawn, has come out to absolute crickets. Right? This game came out and nobody is talking about it. No one cares. No one remembers it. Uh, the promotion for Horizon Zero Dawn simply did not work. People did not fall for it. They did not care. And what Sony did was to pad out the sales numbers was like bundle this game with everything and give it away through PS Plus, like do everything they possibly could to get those numbers up higher and higher and higher. And they claim that the game sold 20 million units, but how exactly can a game sell 20 million units and get a PC port and a sequel that don't get anywhere near the same amount of traction, right? They don't have the same. They had no hype around them. They just kind of came and went. Nobody talked about them. It was bizarre. It was inexplicable. Like it was, I think, uh, a moment where the emperor had no clothes, right? It was a moment where Sony kind of exposed themselves as being entirely all hype and no real substance. They expected gamers would come flocking to Aloy and her game. They expected they would eat her up, and what happened instead? Gamers chose Breath of the Wild. They chose ARMS. They chose Mario Odyssey. They chose the Switch. They did not choose this this primitive open world basic monster like cheap ass Monster Hunter knockoff with robot dinosaurs and arrows that fire almost as quickly as and hit as hard as like actual firearms. It makes it didn't take off for a very good reason. The game is not good. And unlike with something like Uncharted, where you can like say like, oh man, the acting and story makes it worth it. Like Horizon objectively does not have a good story. Despite like the creator's best efforts to try and make it interesting and try to do something unique and different, like it just does not work. Yeah, I've gone into this in detail with my review. Horizon Zero Dawn is trash. Okay, and my feeling on this, I don't think Horizon is going to recover. I don't think there's going to be like a big like renaissance of Aloy in her games. Like I've seen reviews of people who played Forbidden West saying the game didn't need to happen and that the entire story for the franchise was wrapped up in that first game. There was no reason to have a sequel. It reminded me a lot of how like the Tomb Raider sequels where the Tomb Raider reboot sequels were handled, where like it just feels like more of the same thing. And unlike the Tomb Raider reboot, which was legitimately great, Horizon Zero Dawn had nothing to going for it to begin with, other than being a PlayStation exclusive. So, in short, we're beginning to see like the decline of PlayStation and its first party development studios. Like they can't sell themselves to their audience like they used to, and people, more importantly, I think people are no longer giving PlayStation exclusives the PlayStation bonus they used to get in the PlayStation 3 era. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, I think was the moment where like gamers started realizing that the PlayStation exclusive myth that like the PlayStation exclusive library were like a cut above the competition, above Nintendo and Xbox was nothing but a myth, right? Like it wasn't true at all. And with games like The Last of Us Part 2, that feeling only cemented itself in popular culture to the point where like I don't think anyone is seriously anticipating games like God of War Ragnarok or like whatever else Sony is coming out with, like that weird game with the lolly. Like I don't like nobody's looking forward to anything that like first party Sony studios are putting out anymore because they've established a poor track record in the past 5 years, and a big part of that was was due to Horizon Zero Dawn.